Uh, my name is Nadja Makhlouf, and I'm the author of the project Bujaidat. I made this project because at that time we were celebrating the 50th anniversary of the liberation in Algeria. And also because at that time I discovered that there were women who made the war in Algeria, which is totally unusual and for me. So I decided to leave Paris to go in Alger and start this project. So it takes me 2 years and a half to found the 30 diptych. I made 30 diptych of this woman. It was quite easy because I asked to my friends and to my family if they knew a grandmother in Alger or in the Kabylie who can tell me the story and what was the war at that time. So step by step, I finally succeeded to meet all these 30 women. At the beginning, I just wanted to make one portrait of each woman, but then I realized that each of them have a whole picture at that time, whole archive at that time. So I really wanted to explore this part of their history, thinking that the diptych will be perfect. So I made a portrait of them in the right, and on the left there is a picture of them during that time of the war, which is 1954 and until 1962. When I realized that each of these women had a whole picture of that time, we were talking about which kind of picture we will use to represent them perfectly. I mean, I decided to make a portrait of them, but the image of themselves at that time, I wanted to be sure that it would suit to the whole project. So we talk a lot about which photo suit them, each of them, and it takes a little time because it was not easy to be agree about the old picture. So after that, I wanted to talk about the story of each woman. So I made a biography for each of them, which is quite simple. It is before the war, during the war, and then after the war. It was really important for me to make it simple because the story of each woman is not writing at all. There is, of course, there is famous woman, but there is anonymous woman. So there's nothing about them. Nothing is writing until now. So I had a huge responsibility to make sure that what they're going to tell me, it is truth, and to make sure also that it will explain in a short way what kind of woman they were at that time and why they decided to take part of this war. So the whole project was really hard to build in my mind. The process was quite difficult, but I just wanted to make sure that it was efficient for everyone. I really wanted to make this work universal, just to be sure that everyone could understand what kind of action these women have done at that time. These women have different roles at that time. They were soldier, they were nurse, they were secretaries, they were doctors, they were bomb carriers, they participate, everyone differently, in the liberation of the country. And I wanted to make sure that I will treat in the same way all these women. So it was quite important for me to consider each of them, because you have to know that there is quite a difference between the capital and the mountains, the Alger and the Kabylie. Women didn't act in the same way, because in the capital, as you can imagine, there is many buildings, there is many things to do, many people, many traffic, and you have to think differently as a soldier. While when you are in the mountain, there is quite nothing. Even there is really quite nothing. There's just the nature. So you couldn't behave in the same way as a woman, and also you couldn't act in the same way. That's why there is a real separation between the capital and the mountains, and the way they were making the war at that time was quite different. And you also have to know that between each of them, they didn't have the same consideration if you make the war in the capital, or if you make the war in the mountain. So that's why it was really important for me to do my best to make them equal. Even if they didn't participate in the same way, even if they didn't do the 7-8 years of war, it was really something for me. It was really important for me to make sure that I will treat each of them in the same way. That was probably one of my first surprising news when I was making this project. I couldn't imagine that these women between each other could consider it differently themselves. So it was quite surprising for me. I take a lot of time to understand what was to make the war, because I didn't make war. I don't know what it's like to be a soldier. I don't know what it's like to live in a country where there is a war. So I'm trying to make a process to understand deeper what kind of sacrifice they have to do to make this possible. You have to realize that most of them were married, most of them have kids, and you have to imagine that 60 years ago, each of these women decided to take the arms or to take part of a war that they didn't know finally if they will succeed or not, or if they will fail. They lost their husband, they lost the kids, they lost so many things in their life. You can even imagine what kind of terrible things they have to do, they have to deal with. And that's why it was really important for me to take time with them. We talk a lot, you can even imagine. And they gave me a lot of secrets about what kind of life they have at that time. And I think that we trust each other because we were able to give a part of our own story. So I think that this is the reason why it was, I can't say easy, but it was successful. And it is since now one of my biggest projects. And this woman inspired me so much, really so much. What they have done is so incredible that I'm really like they are like my heroine because of what they were able to do. And until now, you have to know that through the 30 diptych, there is only 10, 13 max who are still alive. And I realized just now how much it's precious to have all the story of this woman. Yeah. One of the most unbelievable things that I discovered with this woman is the fact that when we were talking, they remembered perfectly. They remembered perfectly each details of the war. And I was so impressed. I was really impressed because they couldn't remember what they have eaten in the lunch or in the breakfast, but they were like, like they were so incredible, beautiful when they talk about this time, even if they're suffering a lot, even if they're struggling their emotion, because I pushing them to talk about the hardest time in their life. But on the same time, they told me that it was the most incredible time of their life, because they were fighting for something, and they knew which were the enemy, and they could face the war. They could face the war even if it was terrible during the 8 years. So I think it was really quite impressive for me at that time because I was much more younger. And I was really, really, really impressed by this woman. So yeah, I think this is, for me, it was quite crazy, you know. One of the most beautiful moments is where I've been invited by the MAMA, which is the biggest modern museum in Alger. They decided to invite me to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the liberation. So they asked me if I could do an exhibition about the 30 diptych, and I say yes, of course. And during the opening, all of these women were here, and it was quite amazing. It was really a beautiful moment because for the first time they felt that they were considered by the country, by the people, by the fact that all these people are going to read the story of each of them during the 6 months of the exhibition. And the museum is quite big. It is really quite big. So it allows them to, for the first time, to be visible. And it was really impressive to see their eyes, the expression, and they made their best to be beautiful, to wear the beautiful dress, and it was really, really, really a beautiful moment. It was really great.